So you may be observing something and think it's evil, and the person receiving it may think it is too, or they may not. Or you may be thinking something's evil because you're receiving it, and the person doing it may not think they're doing evil. So it's not a simple black and white thing where you just say objectively something's either good or evil. Evil is an experience. Ooh, I don't think I've said that in the other parts, okay? Evil is something we experience. It's suffering, pain, harm, destruction, etc. Or it's something that we do and causes somebody else to experience the suffering, the harm, etc. See, unfortunately, I think a lot of us have come out of Christianity with this idea that what we experience is caused from outside. What we experience is not our responsibility. It's something we can't affect in any strong, way. Oh, it's somebody else's fault, or it's his fault, or this fault, or that fault, especially the devil's fault. By the way, have you heard Hasatan mentioned anywhere in Jeremiah? Okay? So far in all we've read, all this evil, all this stuff, has Hasatan been mentioned even once? No. Because he's not to blame. He's not his fault, all these things. As a matter of fact, all this evil is coming from Yahweh. And Yahweh's saying it. You're doing it, and that brings evil on you, and I'm sending the evil. That's what Yahweh says. Everybody wants to blame Hasatan. By the way, Hasatan can only do what Yahweh allows or causes anyway. And by do whatever you want to do, that's partially things that absolutely Yahweh said not to do. It's also partially taking Yahweh's thing and just twisting it and bending it to your favor. Actually, it's never to your favor, but you think it is. You think you've made it and manipulated it to some advantage for you. And the only advantage is you get what you want, but ultimately it blows up in your face. So there's really a disadvantage, not an advantage when you do that. So don't think it's just the obvious, breaking of a commandment in some obvious way. A lot of what they did was the altering and bending of commandments, because they would still walk around, a lot of them claiming they were keeping them. He says, but if you would come back and do these things, you would be given a name above sons and daughters. What's that mean? In other words, the name itself, the fact that you're my child, unless you do what you're supposed to do, having the name doesn't help. Being related to me doesn't help. So them saying, we're the chosen people. And he's like, so what? Do something proper with it and we'll talk about it. Yeah, I brought you out. I also brought, 603,550 men, and all of them died except 2 in the desert. So don't think you're special just because you were selected initially. What matters is what you do with it. All right? Many are called, but few choose to respond appropriately to the calling. It says, the blind and lame ones came to him in the set-apart place, and he healed them. Is this actually really talking about physically blind people? Physically lame people? Or in the context of this, is he talking about the Isaiah 56 people? He says they realized how blind and lame they were, and they came for healing. I'm sure literally it happened as well. Okay? But could he be painting a parable picture to us as well, that people had to realize how blind and lame they were? What is lame? Lame means you have a problem walking, right? So they weren't walking well, and they couldn't see. And now he was healing them so they could see and they could walk. Look at the full context of what's going on there. Does this match exactly Jeremiah 7? I shall do to this house which is called by my name, in which you trust. See, they were trusting in the building because they believed he was in the building, and therefore that somehow nothing could go wrong. And he's saying, you're dumb. Okay? That's what he's saying. This is stupid. He said, you need to trust me, not the building. And I told you in Sinai, and ever since with prophets and rising up early and speaking to you, you need to keep the covenant. You need to do what I told you to do and stop doing what I said not to do. And because you don't listen, this thing that you trust in is going bye-bye. I'm going to destroy it. You're trusting in the building. This is like the Israelites saying, we're sorry about not going in the land. We'll go in now. And that only goes worse. Because he said, no, now I've told you not to go. So now you're still not going to listen. See, they want to now, it's kind of like when you watch the child, or even the person as an adult, as adults, you get into all kinds of conflicts, and somebody might apologize, but they're not apologizing because they're actually sorry. They're apologizing to try to mitigate the consequence. Instead of just owning it and saying, you know what, I've earned that consequence, but I really am sorry. And I'm okay if I have to go through that. I'd rather not, but I'm okay because I realize I deserve it. I earned it. That's owning it. We do not want to take ownership. This is probably the most evil thing that Christianity has given us. Okay? In other words, there's more suffering, pain, and ruin because they have not taught people to own anything. He's saying, no, what you're doing is you're doing this yourself unto the shame of your own face. But we have no shame. One of the worst things that's ever happened in history is we lost this idea of honor and shame in societies. And so we don't walk with any concern about what we do, bringing ourselves or others honor or shame. There's no thought about it. We are just shameless. Just look at social media. What people post, they are just not embarrassed about anything. There's no shame. As a matter of fact, they're reveling in their foolishness. They're proud of it. Oh, that's great. Let me post it so everybody else can see how stupid I am and how shameless I am. And then all the rest of the shameless people laugh and have a good time, and then they decide they want to do the same thing. And it's just horrible, horrible. When we read the scripture, you need to understand, get out of your Christian head. Yahweh is not going to do anything that you need to do, that you're expected to do, that you're supposed to do. He's not going to do it. He's only going to do things you can't do. He may miraculously heal you of something. He may miraculously, remove something that needs to be removed because you can't do it. I don't mean because you think you can't. I mean because you really can't. Because if you think you can't, that's irrelevant unless you really can't. Because you come up to me, well, I can't do this. No, you just don't want to, and you're intimidated, and you're afraid, and you're lazy, and all this other stuff. Okay? You can do it. You can do so much more than you think you can do. Once he's opened your eyes to the realities of covenant and Torah and the relationship you're supposed to have with Mashiach and with the Father, then plan A is to choose to do it yourself. Work on yourself. Submit yourself. Take yourself off the self-sovereign throne and put him on it. Allow him to sit, rule, and reign in your life. That's plan A. Plan B is life is going to get really bad until you wake up to that plan A reality. So it's still always plan A, but plan B, it goes real badly till you figure it out and decide you're going to do it. Things get a lot easier. Not perfect, but easier when you go with plan A.